All right, I think we're set. I'm ready when you are. All right, just like normal, we had technical difficulties. It wouldn't be normal if I didn't have technical difficulties, right, Trevor? We might as well just kick through that intro and just get going because we're already at we're on? Yeah. We're set? Yeah, we're on. All right. I haven't said this in a while. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in lovely Merrick, New York. But I'm not in a lovely mood after the horrendous start we just had to the show.
You didn't get other mic close to you, my Nick.
Of course, now I got to get the mic in front of me. And the funny thing is, I didn't even put my headphones on. That's what I get for being deshuffled.
Well, listen, you'll get back in groove sooner or later, right?
Oh yeah. It doesn't look like I'm going to get into groove anytime soon today.
Well, at least you got the website thing together. You got the email, the web, everything. So you got that. So
well, we got it.
Yeah.
Well, we got, I don't know, but we got something. And the funny thing is, I hyped it up.
Yeah.
To actually get I had advertised to get this going, so people are online, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know who stuck around for the first 15 minutes, if they stuck out at all. Hopefully, everybody in the Facebook live feed is able to see this properly and able to hear everything properly. And same thing goes for everybody on the YouTube live stream. This is a first. I don't know if you realize what I just did, Trevor, but I'm simultaneously broadcasting from both Facebook and YouTube right now. As crazy as it sounds that we're having two feeds going, and as easy as it should be, it's not very easy at all right now with the way it starts from actually having a password we could use.
Right. You've been away for what, 4 months or something like that? So you've been away for a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I got to get my mojo back. I've been away for quite some time. But I will say this, it's been a crazy few months. And now, I haven't been quiet, even though I haven't been doing the show. I haven't been quiet online. I've been making some videos. I've been doing some live streams through YouTube. We're growing the channel. And at the same time, also, trying to update everybody as much as I humanly can while trying to stay socially distant, trying to abide by everything that the governor and the mayor and everybody else is telling us to do. But it's definitely nice to be back. I'm really happy. We just got ourselves settled in. It's going to be an ongoing thing every week, except for next week. Next week, it's going to be an off day for the studio, but then we're going to be on every week. But I'm glad, if we're going to have some kind of technical glitches, I'm glad it was like today, and it wasn't going to be once we get ourselves going every single week. That way, we got we got all the bugs out. We got everything that we needed to figure out right now, and I'm at least happy about that. Um, that being said, looks like I'm still doing that thing that people tell me I do. So even though I got into it and I got into the flow of doing a lot of things, that's the one thing that I still haven't been able to kick out of my dialogue. I'm going to figure out a way to get that done. But that being said, like I said, it's been a crazy few months. A lot of things have changed with the market. A lot of things have changed in our environment and our lives and in everything that's around us. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that we can't really project as far as how we're going to be a month from now, 2 months from now, end of the year, going into the next year. But I will tell you something. I'm here to give you my opinions, and I'm going to give you my advice as far as what I think this market's going to be projecting going forward. And I'll tell you something. Right now, what we're living is an anomaly. It's definitely not something that we are accustomed to seeing, and something I absolutely guarantee, nobody predicted going around. Because going into the 2020, we basically had a concept that things are kind of flatlining a little bit, kind of slowing down, not necessarily halting, but inventory was kind of catching up, and we weren't necessarily going to go gangbusters in 2020. And anybody that tells you that was their predictions was either picking a prediction out of a hat, or basically just wanted to go against the trends. That's where we were at that point. I mean, certain markets, certain segments that we were basically looking at a little differently. It's so weird to be actually doing this right now. I don't want to cut my thought off, but it's so weird actually doing this from a studio and looking at Trevor on the other side of the window, having the WGBB in the back, looking at the clock, and it stops me from going on a rant and not actually going and doing a 2-hour live stream. That and the fact that Lou, that's right behind me, I know everybody knows Lou Talano, that's actually doing Streetwise. He's actually in the other room, and I'm sure if I go over, he'll have a couple words for me. So, it's weird having a timer. Weird back in the studio in a very good way, actually. But I am actually looking at this whole market in a way where, see, my whole mindset of jumping from one topic to the other it hasn't changed. So you're going to hear like 100 things coming out of me at the same time, but that's okay. What I was saying is that anybody that made predictions this year, in the beginning of the year or end of last year, saying that we were going to have a gangbusters year, actually, if they really meant what they believed in, it wasn't for the reasons they believed that was going to happen. Nobody thought we were going to get hit with a coronavirus. Nobody thought we were going to have a pandemic that was basically going to go not only throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout the country, throughout the world. This thing has really did a number on the entire population of this globe. And I think it hit us a little bit more than other places. All right, yeah, I think I'm right, but maybe some other people will actually argue with me. But New York is definitely one of the places that we got affected in major, major ways. And going into this, right before we hit lockdown, right before we were going to be quarantined, and I was still actually doing those shows at that time, we didn't know what we were going to expect at that time. We didn't know where this market was going to go, what was going to happen, what, how to be able to work with it. We found a way. It took, we kind of muddied through the whole process and try to figure everything out, but it was definitely not a simple solution, and it was definitely not an easy journey. But way back in February, I was sitting on a good amount of inventory in real estate, and I'm sitting and going through a game plan. I'm going and trying to figure out what exactly is it that we need to do right now to prepare and get ready to sell these places under the restrictions that were going by. And believe me, there were some restrictions that I can't believe New York had to go through compared to other places. Because I'll tell you something, the fact that they shut down just about every single practice we could do in real estate and not give us the ability to be able to work. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be crying and basically say that, woe was us, our industry was slaughtered, or we were hit hard, because a lot of industries were hit hard, a lot of businesses were hit hard, and we we didn't necessarily um, have a game plan of how to adapt to it. At that time, we adapted really quickly. For example, when we were back in February and kind of getting the indication that something like this would happen, we might have to be locked down. When we saw one country after the other, especially in Europe, locking down their borders and basically locking down and putting everybody in quarantine and putting curfews and certain restrictions of when they could and could not go out and who can actually go out and who can't go out. The writing was on the wall. This was going to happen here at one point or another. Not necessarily as long as it happened. We didn't expect that was going to happen, and we didn't think we were going to be locked down for 4 months. I don't think anybody did. Okay, this is something else that hasn't changed. I'm still drinking Starbucks coffee, and that's why you probably see me all amped up, because I'm full of caffeine right now. But Starbucks, I still want that endorsement. But as we're sitting in and trying to adapt, like the first thing I did, I ran and scrambled and got some better photo equipment. I got a 360-degree camera. Try to set myself up and self-educate myself as fast as possible of how to do virtual tours, because there was no way other way to be able to do this. We had to figure out how to go about it, and I was happy that I did that, because one of the few things that we were allowed to do was actually walk through homes virtually and show the homes or the properties or the buildings or wherever we were through, either streaming or tape it and then send it over to the clients, and adapting and using a 360-degree camera helped us a lot. But other states didn't have to do that. We actually had to do that to work with the parameters that we were working in. And I'll tell you something. So there's a lot of people that were not following the rules. I saw this with my own eyes. The government and the local officials did a terrible, terrible, terrible job as far as enforcing and chasing down everybody that was actually doing these things. Because there were people blatantly going in and out, bringing herds of people inside places, especially if they were vacant and nobody could say anything to them. But the guideline said you couldn't do that. But they did it anyway. No, I'm not going to whistleblow. I'm not going to say who did what or whatever the case is. That's not my job to do. That's the local officials and the government to enforce the laws that they put in place. But I'm just making a point. Not enough people got fines, or not enough people got caught doing what they're doing. But I'm not going to sit here with sour grapes, and I'm not going to say that, oh, woe is me. I did the right thing. But I still did business. Don't get me wrong. I did the right thing, and I still was selling houses. So the people that didn't do the right thing, I guess karma will come around and get to them, whatever the case is. I'm sure maybe a couple of them got coronavirus down the way. Who knows? But what I'm saying is, not everybody was doing the right thing. It was an imperfect system. There was a lot of fear mongering. There was a lot of apprehension of whether they should or should not do their job. So back in February, beginning of March, I'm sitting with my sellers and saying, what are we going to do? Okay, if we can't really show the houses, if we can't show the properties, if we can't show the buildings in person, and have that one-on-one contact and communication, how are we going to get this done? Because that actually took away my best ability. My best ability is the ability to be able to um, meet somebody face to face, have FaceTime, and actually put together a deal or negotiate with them directly and look at them in the face and try to get it done. Um, you take away a lot of that if I'm doing it over the phone or even if I'm doing it through a camera. You could hide behind a camera, you could hide behind text, you could hide behind email. But when you're having that one-on-one negotiation and confrontation, not confrontation, but communication, it's hard to, either, take another direction or not without being, you want to be as direct as possible. And I'll tell you what, a lot of those millennials show their colors when it comes to face negotiation. They're great at texting and sending emails and all that stuff, but when it comes to putting them against the corner and basically taking the hard line and actually doing a little bit of hard negotiating, they tend to have a tendency of crumbling. Not everybody, but a lot of them. That's a skill they're going to have to acquire over the years if they're going to want to be really good at what they do in this job. But that's a conversation for another show, for another day. I could have a whole show just on that. And we're actually going to go over a lot of things over the next few weeks. I've got a lot of topics I want to hit, but I'll go into that right before the show ends and let you know what the upcoming topics are. We're going to have a bunch of great guests as well. And it's going to be a good, really, really good run now on the real estate play. So I'm sitting in and talking to my sellers. My sellers are saying the sky is falling. They don't know what's going on. And I can't, in all honesty, I'm trying to stay as calm as possible and try to stay even keel and not necessarily freak out. Meanwhile, I was freaking out on the inside because I didn't know what was going to happen. For all I knew, the market was going to tank completely, and we're going to have a problem at that time because we didn't know, one, the severity, two, how to be able to adapt to what we're doing, and three, how long this will actually last. Kelly, great to be back. I'm actually going to just answer any comments or anything I see verbally. It's just going to be a little difficult for me to be able, basically be able to just type back and forth, especially because I'm crunching, trying to get as much information in here as possible, try to do as much of a show as possible because of our delays that we had. Rob, if you're listening, I'm going to kill you with your passwords and really can't work that well. And of course, I get somebody telling me that they can't hear me. Is this possible? I don't know. Of course, somebody can't hear me. I'm glad somebody actually mentioned that they can't hear me, because I wouldn't know. Let's see if we could fix this thing up. This is definitely an issue coming in through Facebook. This is not one of the issues that I'm getting from YouTube, because it looks like the YouTube feed is working properly. But let's see what I could do to get this fixed. I'm not sure if I could fix this or not. Not sure, but maybe. Go to my YouTube page. YouTube page, and this might get resolved. Of course, no sound. This is killing me. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. It always is. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. So now I'm taking all my attention to fix technical issues while the show is going, and I'm going to lose track. And we will. And the worst thing that you could ever do, and I'm sure that Trevor will attest to this, is having silence on the radio as you're trying to put a show together. So that's why I'm rambling on, talking while I'm actually fixing this issue, if I could fix this issue. And hopefully it will work. I hope to make this work. And I hope it will. I'm going to say this again. This is not working well. All right. So let's go back to where we left off. So I'm trying to keep myself as calm as possible, and trying to keep my sellers as calm as possible during this time. And it doesn't necessarily work that well. And, herd mentality, everybody's freaking out. The same way everybody is freaking out for one reason or another right now, the sellers were freaking out that what's going to happen. They're going to get stuck, especially with the new construction stuff, because I had a lot of new construction on available at that time. That's a lot of houses that were already built, and we had a whole bunch of coming down the line as far as new construction was concerned. And that being said, the fact that we got together, we came up with a game plan. The game plan was we're going to just hit the market as hard as we can we're going to hit the market as hard as we can with as much social media, the virtual tours, you name it. And it worked. It ended up working. And we were selling one house after the other during that time. And not only that, we actually sold a couple of houses that were really hard to sell before that. It just seemed like all of a sudden the herd mentality had flipped over. It went from sellers panicking in the beginning that we might get stuck with all this inventory to buyers getting into that escape from New York mentality. And they all started rushing out of the city. They wanted out as fast as humanly can. They humanly could get out. And one of the things that they were doing was actually hitting the suburbs. They were hitting Jersey. They were hitting Pennsylvania. They were going up to Westchester. They were hitting the island. They were going anywhere they possibly can that was not in an overly congested area. And that initially started because of the fact that we had a pandemic hitting us, and it was very surreal for a lot of people. When you're in an apartment building with another 100 units and you're close proximity with everybody, and you know that there's a disease out there that if you breathe on somebody or cough on somebody, oh, by the way, my cough is not because I have coronavirus, it's because I smoke too much. But that being said, because of the fact that you have a pandemic, a disease out there that is scaring the crap out of people. And I know I'm saying it a little bit over the top, but it's true. It was really scaring people. They wanted out. They wanted to be as open as possible. They wanted to have some distance from each other. They wanted to be in a house where they could actually go in a backyard or a front yard or a side yard or some kind of yard where they could actually go and not have to worry about somebody running into them. And this was this mindset. This was the mentality. This is what made everybody panic as much as we saw happening. So what was happening is, first of all, the inventory that was on the market at that time started to fly. People were just buying whatever they can, and so in the beginning, we didn't realize how rabid this was going to be, because what was happening simultaneously, you had a lot of sellers, just like you had a lot of sellers that were trying to get rid of their inventory. You had a lot of sellers that pulled their houses off the market. So they pulled the houses off the market to give themselves a little bit of comfort, because a lot of people are thinking, whoa, 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 hold on a second. If I'm going to sell my house now, where am I going to go? I'm not going anywhere. I'm fine where I am. That person about thinking about upgrading their house was second guessing to themselves, because we don't know financially where we're going to be. The other thing is, we had certain plans, but these plans obviously are up in limbo right now because it's Corona time. We don't know what else is coming down the pike. And I'll tell you something. 2020 was it was one of the most bizarre years that I can ever have foreseen, that lived. Scary, bizarre, weird, and it's not over yet. We still got another 3 months. Who knows what's next? Maybe the aliens are going to step down and basically, ET is going to start running around all around us. Who knows? I'm joking right now, but it's crazy. We don't know what we're going to be dealing with going down the line. We really don't know what we're dealing with, and it is a little bit scary. It is a little bit tough to be able to absorb, but we'll get through it. So that being said, as the inventory is depleting and as buyers' appetites to buy more places is increasing, what do we have? We have a situation of seriously lack of supply and demand. So supply for demand. So what happens next? The prices start going up. We're seeing homes, single-family homes, starting to jump up, going into bidding wars. We haven't had bidding wars like this in a long, long time. And anybody that says that we did, all across the board, is sorely mistaken, because the bidding wars are all across the board. They're not just in one place. There are multiple towns. If you're in one of those sweet spot areas where you're basically in a position to be able to purchase in that, I don't know, $500,000-$700,000 mark, you're going to be in a bidding war. I guarantee you. And in some other areas, like the $1 million areas, if you're at the $1 million range, you're in a bidding war. Now, the grossly overpriced houses, even they're selling. They might not be getting what they want originally, like as far as the asking price, but they're selling too. And that's something that usually doesn't happen. The ones that are like really overpriced, like somebody that's like $500,000 overpriced, your $1.5 million house, and you're selling it for $2 million, are at a very big disadvantage usually. Now those are even selling. Again, they're not getting the full asking price, but if you're priced right now, you're definitely going to get you're definitely going to get a ride for your money. You're basically going to be in a full blown bidding war, and I feel my heart goes out to a lot of the buyers out there. I feel for you, because it's a very mentally exhausting situation, to know that you're putting in $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking price, and you're still losing the deal. That's not necessarily the greatest of situations. It's not a fun situation. And as a realtor, whether you're on the listing side or the selling or the buyer side, you still don't like the situation of having to tell people no over and over again. It's not fun. I'll tell you, there's a couple of agents that I don't mind telling no that annoy me, as far as always giving me low offers, even to this day. That's okay, because they're just never going to learn. But in these scenarios, in this type of market, it's extremely difficult for a lot of the buyers. I mean, the sellers, they're giddy right now. They're basically in a really good situation. They're in the driver's seat for now. And there's a lot of predictions out there as far as there's going to be a major crash at the end of the year, or there's going to be a major crash in 2021. And I'm going to say something that actually is going to go against what the popular opinion is right now. Are we eventually going to slow down from where we are? Absolutely. Guaranteed. We're going to stop. We're going to slow down. We're going to take a pause from where we're going. Like the momentum and the movement that we're going through right now is abnormal, and it definitely is artificial. But here's the but, and it's a very, very big but. We have a scenario right now where we're at historically low mortgage rates. Okay, so as long as these rates are historically low, you got people getting mortgages in the mid twos, high twos. That's insane. We've never seen stuff like that. We were saying this in the threes and the fours when we were getting there, and saying, "Oh my God, historically low." This is almost like they're paying you to take the loan. This how small these loans are. Like these percentage rates that people are paying. So as long as they're there, people are going to have an appetite to buy places. And as long as the inventory stays very low, which it continues to do so even after 2 months, 3 months now out of lockdown, 2 months. Yeah, well, I'm losing track of my time. But 3 months, at least for real estate. But you have a scenario where we might not be catching up with the inventory anytime soon. The way I figure it out, you need about 2.5 times the listings to go back on the market for everyone that sells right now. And that's not happening yet. And it's almost like a 1-to-1 ratio. You get one hit the market, it's gone almost immediately. There's almost no turnover time. Things are going off the market a week to 2 weeks on the market, and they're gone. I have a scenario, and I have a personal situation with the amount of listings that we have as a team, the inventory that I'm holding in my hands, that I'm almost wiped out. And I haven't had this in a very long time. I can't even remember the last time I wiped out every piece of inventory simultaneously that I had. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not happening in the commercial world. And the commercial world is a whole different story. And I promise you, that's an episode in itself on the commercial world, the retail, office, the warehouse, that whole environment. I'm not touching that today because we got a lot on our hands with that. Put that to the side. We're talking about strictly residential today. We're talking about strictly that market, this market. And what is happening right now is we might have this scenario going not only until the end of the year, but we might have this scenario actually going all the way to the end of next year. Yeah, they're going to say I'm crazy. No, it's going to crash. Watch. This is going to be a prolonged scenario. And unless we have outside factors that dramatically hit us in a very weird way, and anything is possible. 2020 has proven that anything is possible in this world. But unless we have another really out there kind of scenario, this could get dragged out all the way through to the end of 2021 until we find some kind of balance, some kind of equilibrium. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong. Call me out. When the market crashes and the skies are falling and fire and brimstone is all around us, call me up and say, Nick, you're an idiot. You didn't know what you were talking about. But until that happens, I'm sticking to it because there's something to what I'm saying. And this is well thought out. And I've been looking at the stats. I've been looking at exactly what the feel on the street is. Because I'll tell you something, the media and the realtor and the MLS systems that come out with their reports and stuff like that, they're already behind the game. They don't realize what's going on. We're the ones that are the troops on the ground that are seeing what is happening on a daily basis. And that being said, I can't see this dying out in a hurry. It's going to slowly, very slowly start to flame out. And we'll see. We'll see what the end of the story will be. But this is not something that's going to end like this. It's not. It's going to be something that, from a historical perspective in the real estate world, has never been seen. And I'm not going to say it will ever be seen again because, again, 2020 has proven this to us. Never say never. But we will be having a lot of challenges as far as the way this market's going. If you're selling, fantastic for you. If you're buying, my heart goes out to you. You're having a hard time. You're going to continue having a hard time for quite some time going forward. But it's going to definitely be a wild, wild ride. I'm, very, very interested to see what the final results are. I almost feel a little bit like how I felt in 2001 when the towers dropped and there was, that escape from New York mentality, but that didn't last too long. That didn't last more than 6 to 12 months as far as the mass hysteria, the mass panic of people saying, I got to get out of the city. People started about 6 months to 12 months after, the dust basically settled, not to be like, literal, but when the dust settled, 6 to 12 months later, you started seeing people starting to filter back in. So they're filtered back in. And that's going to happen again in New York City. Anybody that tells me that New York City is dead forever, obviously they haven't been seeing what New York City is. Are we at one of the worst times in city history? Absolutely. We definitely are. And that's another factor that's been affecting the escape to New York mentality. It's not necessarily just the coronavirus that's been scaring people off. It's a lot of stuff that's going on. I'm not even getting into the political stuff like that. Anybody that knows me, anybody that see me do any kind of streaming kind of situation or any kind of writings, know that I don't have any love for De Blasio. I can't stand this guy. He's done a lot of wrong things. And again, I'm not turning this in political, but he has affected my personal business, but he also affected our livelihoods, which is more than that is more important than anything, he's risked people's lives. He's done a lot of maybe a lot of wrong decisions, and the city's going to take many years to be able to recover from it. Don't forget, we still got what, a year and a half left of him. He could do a lot more damage in that year and a half. The one thing I will plead for is to Cuomo to put a little bit of weight on him and basically make him do what he needs to do. But welcome to politics. Again, I'm not going to get it. I keep saying that. I keep getting sidetracked and pulled back into the politics. I don't want to do that. Maybe for another time. And we don't have that much time on the show anyway for me to continue going that route. But this is going to definitely be a scenario where New York City will come back. Just how long it will take, I don't know. Because the one thing I promise you, once the big buildings start to go down in value and they start selling at depreciated rates, there's going to be investors coming back. I promise you that. It's going to be too good for them to pass up on. It always is the case. It happened in 2001 after the towers hit. It happened after the internet bubble burst in the 90s. It happened in 2008 with the financial crisis. These things happen. When New York City was a war zone in the 70s going to the 80s, it came back stronger than ever. And that's because there's only one New York City and people are looking to invest and make money in the city. So it's going to happen and it's going to come back. But that being said, I can't go too much on a rant much longer. I got to end the show. I'm sorry that this show went on a little late today. Like I said, if it wasn't going to be a technical issue going forward, then it wouldn't be a normal day in the world of the real estate plate on WGBB. Good to be back to normal, I guess. But we're definitely going to get these glitches taken care of. Hopefully, this stream that's on YouTube is actually working way better than the stream that's on Facebook. And if that's the case, then I might have to drop one for the other. We'll continue to do the dual tests on both platforms and make sure that we can actually put out a product that people could be able to watch while we're going. And I'm just glad I didn't have a guest today. It would annoy the hell out of me if I had a guest. But that being said, we are about to sign off. Just giving you a really quick update on what's coming next. We're definitely going to hit the whole Zillow disaster that's hitting us. We have a few guests coming in over the next few weeks. Don't forget, end of the month, it's going to be our real estate horror episode, which is like every year. It's going to be our annual real estate horror stories. Send your horror stories in to me, and I'll have them read. Or if you have pictures or videos of something that you want to send me over, send those over. I'll definitely put them on the show. And look at that. We got Lou already. Lou, you don't have your gun on you, do you?
Always.
All right. So I got to get off now before he takes his liberties with me. So that being said, have a great night. It's great to be back. And enjoy the week. Make a lot of money in real estate. Have a good night.
So when I come to them, I'm not going to walk into my commercial, okay? And then they'll probably be hanging out.